Jordan Addison going to USC doesn't really change anything. What's going on, people? Welcome back to Reject the Reefer. Let's be special, baby. Let's be special. So what's going on, guys? Kind of going through change right now in my own life, starting a new job, moving to a new city in a new state. So, a lot of change right now. That's why the channel's kind of been not very active right now. But, once I get settled into my apartment later this week, we're going to pick this back up and get this baby rolling again. So, as I was saying before, Jordan Addison, transferred to USC. A lot of people are making a big deal over this whole thing. Jordan Addison, the Blinkenkoff Award winner, now at USC with Caleb Williams, Lincoln Riley. You got Michael Dye. I believe it's Michael Dye. Maybe got his first name wrong, but Dye, the running back from Oregon, is transferring to USC. USC's gonna be back, baby. Not so fast. All these guys going to USC. I mean, it's quarterback and a bunch of skill position players, and that's never been a problem for USC. I mean, let's be honest here. You got guys like Michael Pittman Jr., Ramona St. Brown. You got Drake London there, Juju Smith-Schuster in there. I mean, USC has never had a problem putting skill position players, whether it be offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball. You got a Dory Jackson, guys like that over there in the NFL. Wide receiver, running back, defensive back, cornerback, safety. They got NFL guys all over the field. The problem for USC has always been in recent years, maybe not so much when Pete Carroll was there, and they had some guys on that team when Pete Carroll was there, I'll be honest. It's always been recently is the offensive line and defensive lines just aren't up to standard and where they need to be. I don't know why. I mean, they're getting a lot of highly touted recruits along those trenches, but I look at that offensive line. It couldn't compete against Alabama's defensive line right now. I'm sorry, it just couldn't. It couldn't compete against Alabama's defensive line, Clemson's defensive line, Georgia's defensive line, and that's where the program wants to go. That's where they want to be at. That's where they think that they're at. They're at that level now. They got those guys. Well, I'm sorry, you don't really have the trench power that you need to win. I mean, ask Oklahoma. Oklahoma's going to the SEC soon, but Oklahoma went to those games against Alabama, went to that game against Clemson, and they just didn't have the manpower along the trenches to, take care of business and bring it home. And, maybe that's why Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma to USC, is he knew that, Oklahoma didn't quite have the trench power to go into the SEC. I don't know. But when's the last time USC put a good player along that line in the NFL? Think about it. Think about it, really. I mean, sure, on the defensive line, you can argue Leonard Williams. You can argue that, but Leonard Williams, that was 2014. That was almost a decade ago. And then you got Elijah Vera Tucker, who, he was a solid guard, good starter. I mean, he was one of the best 32 NFL guards in the league last year, so, I'll give him credit. So he's been a good guy. And then you got Austin Jackson, too, on the Dolphins. But, Austin Jackson struggled, but, I wish him the best. I like Austin Jackson. He's a very high character young man. I like him a lot. But, in terms of just football play on the field, wasn't the best offensive tackle last year in the NFL. And that's just been a problem for USC, is putting out these guys along the trenches that can compete at a high level, not only in the college level, but in the NFL too. Because honestly, a lot of these good teams in the college are made up by guys that are played at a high level in the NFL. And quarterback too with Caleb Williams, USC's had some good quarterbacks over the years. I mean, Sam Darnold, Mark Sanchez from Carroll was there, a great guy. They've had a lot of quarterbacks come through that system. And the past couple quarterbacks, they've run out of town, too. I mean, you had JT Daniels come in as an early enrollee freshman and just absolutely ball out. And, unfortunately, tears his ACL in the first game his sophomore year. Which, I remember watching that in Vegas. That was unfortunate. But he tears his ACL. And then Keenan Slovis, takes over and gets the starting job. JT Daniels is like, well, I'm out of here. Keenan Slovis kind of took over. I see the writing on the wall. Keenan Slovis is now the guy. And he performed at an admirable level. I think he was pretty good. But then all of a sudden, USC fans are like, no, we're going to run him out of town. We got Jackson Dart. And now, all of a sudden, you got Caleb Williams, and we're going to run Jackson Dart out of town. Jackson Dart's at Ole Miss now. Keenan Slovis is at Pitt now, and now JT Daniels is at West Virginia now. So, you've run out your past three quarterbacks that were all high-rated recruits coming into your system, and, we'll see what happens to Caleb Williams. I hope the young man does well, but, if he has a down year next year, maybe maybe the endorsement deals with Beats by Dre and everything off the field in Los Angeles, a little bit distracting for him. I don't know. I'm not saying they are or won't be. He could absolutely flourish in the spotlight for all I know. But, if it does, he does have a down year. I mean, are USC fans just going to, turn their backs on him and say, hey, next quarterback up? Because they got a 5-star kid. I can't remember his name, but he's coming in next year, too, for them. That's going to sit behind Caleb. So, are they going to push him out the door and say, hey, we got a new 5-star coming in, he's going to be our guy? USC's never had a problem filling, the quarterback, running back, wide receiver positions on offense. I mean, they got a multitude of guys in the league that played those positions. But offensive, defensive line, not so much. And that's what Lincoln Riley really needs to hammer down on if he wants to compete on a national scale. I mean, even in the conference, when a team like Oregon, they've got some good guys along that offensive and defensive line. Are they going to be able to compete with a team like that in their own conference? Utah is building quite a powerhouse program in the Pac-12 too. Are they going to be able to compete with Utah? And also, another problem that I have with USC is, over the past couple of years, I just don't feel like guys have gotten better when they went to USC. I mean, I feel like they walk in the door, highly rated 4-star recruit, 5-star recruit, and that they just don't get better and developed as a program. I mean, Michael Pittman Jr. I love Michael Pittman Jr. I'm an absolute Michael Pittman Jr. fanboy. But I'll be honest, from watching him play at USC, I don't know if I can honestly tell you, with my honest opinionly tell you, that he was a drastically improved player from his sophomore year to his senior year. I don't know. I don't really think he was. I think he was just a kind of a highly level player. He came in as a highly touted recruit to USC, great player in special teams, high effort player, and, had a good sophomore year, kind of cut short a little bit by injuries and also just a limited opportunity. But then, junior year, more opportunities, and then senior year, named captain, full-time starter, receiver, played the entire season. He just had more opportunities, more balls thrown his way, and he was able to capitalize on that. I mean, his most yards per catch were his sophomore year. I think he was a productive receiver his sophomore year, his junior year, his senior year. Another guy that I like there is Isaac Taylor Stewart, who, signed as an undrafted free agent to the Cowboys. He's another USC player that I like. He came into USC running a 4.3 in the 40-yard dash, because that was his official test and combine, the high school camps and stuff, which is a great time. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know if he developed really as a cornerback at USC. I mean, from watching his game film, he relies on his speed a lot still, which, that's kind of his bread and butter, which he should lean on that. But, it wasn't very physical. There were times where he'd get, a little bit lost in coverage. Wasn't great against the run support. And, those, something like a run support and just kind of coverage awareness are things that you develop as a program, that you can develop your player to do. They come in with that raw talent, that raw speed, raw athleticism, and then you teach them the finite little minute skills like, hey, this is how you jam your man on the line and keep him pressed against the sideline. The sideline's your friend. You go with that over and over and over again, and then he performs like that on the high level in the game. And I just don't know if that development ever took place. But, Lincoln Riley could completely turn this ship around, start developing players, pumping back out to the NFL like they did in, went back with Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, and some absolute studs like Clay Matthews, Ray Malaluga were there. And, Clay Matthews is another great example of developing your players. Clay Matthews came in not highly recruited at all, kind of came in as, not expecting to get much playing time, big special teams player, and through his career at USC, developed himself into an absolute animal and went into the NFL and was an absolute animal Super Bowl winner in the NFL with the Packers. I mean, you can never take that away from him. He was a Super Bowl champion, Clay Matthews. But he was developed there at USC. He didn't walk in as a highly touted 5-star recruit that, they're just going to go to the NFL regardless what happened. He walked in there and they developed him like that. And I just don't think the past, two regimes has really developed players at USC. But Lincoln Riley could completely turn that around, and we'll see what happens. But that's all I got for today, guys. As always, have a great day. Tell somebody you love them. Deuces.